The movie I chose for this week is Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, starring Andy Garcia, Christopher Lloyd, Steve Buscemi, Jack Warden, and the awesome Christopher Walken.
Pardon me if you can. Movie reviews.
Ex-gangster Jimmy the Saint Tessina, Andy Garcia, is on the straight. He runs a struggling business called Afterlife Advice, where dying people videotape messages to their loved ones. He is summoned by a powerful crime boss known as the Man with the Plan, played by Christopher Walken, and is offered a large sum of money for one more job. Jimmy assembles his old team, a cross-section of people who are mostly struggling to make ends meet. They all agree to work with Jimmy, both for the money and to relive old times. The job, however, goes horribly wrong, and the crime boss has summoned a hitman to kill each of them. Jimmy tries his best to help his team run, and also tries to plead with the crime boss to spare their lives. The film was directed by Gary Fleder and written by Scott Rosenberg. It came out in 1995. The film also stars Jack Warden, who's an awesome character actor. He acts as like a close friend to the group that sits at a diner telling stories. He acts like our guide, explaining the history of some of the characters and some of the street lingo and nicknames. I'm such a huge fan of Jack Warden and his era. I have to say it was such a pleasure to see him act alongside such a fantastic modern cast. The team is terrific in this as well, a real cross-section of people, rich and full of detail. Christopher Lloyd is a projectionist who works at a porno theater, and I think he's suffering with some sort of leprosy or something. William Forsythe is a family man who is struggling to provide for his wife and kids. Bill Nunn has an interesting past with Treat Williams, who is, quote, off their tits. I actually found Treat Williams to steal the show. He's so funny and wild. What's great about the team is how much they seemed like they really had a past. The film does a really great job of creating a sense of urban myth and legend for the team, that back in their heyday, they were really something. That these guys once were the center of attention, and they all have a great chemistry together and create a wonderful sense of nostalgia all throughout the movie. It makes you kind of wonder what a prequel to this movie might have been like. Christopher Walken is terrifying in this as the head gangster. Although reduced to a wheelchair, not being able to really move much at all, his presence is so intense. He's got to be one of the nastiest gangsters I have ever seen on screen. Something about the way he just stares through Andy Garcia. Steve Buscemi plays Mr. Shush, the hitman summoned to kill Jimmy's team. The film dances a bit with the mystical here, as Mr. Shush's abilities are almost fantasy. He just becomes so powerful. I felt some of the choreography in this to be, the brief fight scenes that we do see Mr. Shush and Steve Buscemi engage in to be really corny, but Steve Buscemi definitely stands out as a very memorable hitman. What's interesting about this movie was that it wasn't afraid to bare its heart. Layered all throughout the movie are these video excerpts of dying people's last words to their loved ones. The film is about characters facing death and what they do in their final moments. Some accept their fate, some try to run, others try to fight it, some are tragic and others seem to be inevitable. The film only offers a small bit of hope in a world where you cannot escape from the past. When I first saw Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead when I was a late teenager, I thought it was one of the coolest and slickest gangster films I had ever seen. Now watching it in my early 30s, I think it was, some of the characters weren't treated really fair at all. Some of the deaths were really ugly, and there was a sense of immaturity to the writing. But that said, this is a very well-made and slick gangster film. So if you haven't come across this yet, this is a real hidden gem, mainly because of the cast. They get along so well, and everyone is top of the line.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Check out our podcast at www.podmeifyoucan.com.